Welcome, everybody. Well, you've all seen the fallout. People are still crying robbery. I had a chance to talk about it when I was drunk the night of, but now I got the Al Chile crew here, and we're going to break it down and tell you if it really was a robbery. And then we're going to talk about Spence and Crawford, maybe probably being really official this time, hopefully. We're excited. I got Georgie with Off the Ropes Boxing and MMA here, and the homie, the YTBC legend. You can only find him here. Nopal Bucksayonos. What's happening, fellas?
What's
Good
up,
morning.
man?
Hey.
What's up, bro?
Let's talk about it, man, because I've heard your guys' thoughts in our group thread. Nopal's called me chingando about this robbery, and the Mexicans, we don't have a dog in the race, so we're gonna give it to you straight. Let's talk about this fight, Georgie. Let's start with you, homie. All right, Lomachenko versus Haney for undisputed. Haney got the unanimous decision. People are crying robbery all over the damn place. Tell us how you saw the fight, and then tell us if you think it was a robbery.
Yeah, it was. I would say if you take the judging out of this, like I feel like this fight lived up to the hype. It was very competitive. There was very close rounds, back and forth. Both guys making adjustments. It's what you wanted, and what for me at least what I expected from both of these guys. Making adjustments on the fly. Of course, experience started. It showed, and usually experience usually shows that towards the end of the fight, right? If you've been there that many times as much as Loma, so. I thought it lived up to the hype. I thought it was good. I'm hoping for good pay-per-view numbers if they haven't been released yet. I'm sure Rick Glazer probably has his opinion as always. But man, yeah, I watched this. We were of course all messaging each other back and forth as this was going on. I think one of us was like, I see, first 4 rounds going half and half. One said 3-1. I can't remember exactly because I definitely was watching this on my phone. I didn't get a good view of it, but I would say about 95% of what I watched, I was impressed with. I was happy with the fight. And again, if you take the refereeing, the judging out of this is pretty much what you would expect from these two types of fighters. So going into this, man, when the official score was made, I think 116, 112 definitely even takes more away from what these two guys did. I thought that was a very terrible call. Cheatham, I think it's Tom Cheatham, was also the referee in the Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. He gave a knockdown around 10-10, which should have been a red flag already, not just for the commission of Vegas, but seeing that the referees are there. What judges are watching this fight, this should have been a red flag. It should have, as always, but boxing is a business. It's a mafia, whatever, it's politics. And it did exactly what it did as usual. Again, it took away from a great fight. But watching this originally, it's kind of what I expected because I actually watched this 2 more times. I had to score it 2 more times, bro, because it just was that good, that close. And I even marked down some rewatched rounds. So before I start getting into the scoring, I rewatched rounds 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8. For some reason, those rounds stood out to me like I had to rewatch them. So it was like a third and fourth time rewatching these rounds. And, my opinion kind of changed on it until I finally just settled and said, okay, what? I think this guy did more this round. I notated here, let me see. It was round number 9. So round number 9, we obviously can't go off of what Max Kellerman or Tessitore is telling us what the score is, because sometimes that could sway you, especially like if you're listening to the commentating. I feel like they were like cheering every time Loma landed one shot or, he threw a combination. They were, celebrating, or they were just, making it big. And it was I get maybe it's because of what Devin Haney did the day before. Like he could have really hurt Lomachenko, he was relaxed. He could have hurt him. This fight could have not had happened. So I think it was like $400K that he was fined. I thought it was reasonable because who knows, we wouldn't have had this fight if Lomachenko's hurt. All the money that was invested into this fight, everybody excited. But around the 9th round, what was interesting is Max Kellerman had it 4-4, and his rounds that he had, Devin winning was 1-2-4-5. Loma was 2-6-7-8, and I think the 6, 7, 8 were very close rounds. I had swing rounds of pretty much those were pretty much the swing rounds. That kind of stood out to me because, again, those rounds I had to rewatch because I could see how Devin Haney could have won those rounds, as well as I could have seen what Lomachenko won those rounds, right? And the way, of course, scoring goes is the criteria. It's they go off of effective aggression, ring generalship. They even score on defense. So these are the 4 criteria of scoring: hard and clean punching. So there was definitely both going on from both sides from of course from Haney, of course from Lomachenko. So those were really close. My swing rounds watching this, and I'm going to officially say for the 3rd time what I think this was. I think the swing rounds were 3, 6, 7, and 8. The obvious rounds that went to both guys. 10th round was real obvious that Lomachenko won. It was probably his best round of the fight, as well as what he put up. But I think it was a good fight. I think again the judging is kind of what took away from what was a really good fight. But there was it was kind of like one moment Lomachenko was landing in some flurries, and then it wasn't like Haney was really running. It's kind of like he kind of reset, went back to the center of the ring, used some lateral movements, especially early on. He had also from like middle to the 3rd quarter of the fight where he is like his output went down. And actually, again, with a copy box, I think with the copy box, I would say at the 7th round, Haney was actually out landing and out throwing Lomachenko, and he was landing at a higher. He was actually outlanded. Wait, I take that back. His landing percentage was actually higher than Lomachenko. So I think that kind of stood out to me. And what if they were jabs? I think Loma even threw more jabs than Haney. There was back and forth. I think 1 minute it was Devin Haney was doing some good work from the outside. Then the next moment, Lomachenko was doing what he does. He gets on the inside. He makes you miss. He makes you pay. And it seems like every time one would land a shot, it would the other one would answer back. But I think if in the 3rd quarter, knowing how close this fight was, I think I don't know. In my opinion, I think if either one would have taken the driver's seat a little bit more, thrown a little bit more, I think I would be more sure of my pick. But of course, the official pick was Haney won. But I don't think Haney won, and I definitely scoring the next 2 times, the 3rd time, I actually both had it a draw those 2 times because I said it was just that close. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. I wanted to be sure on my pick. The only round I think that really changed was the 3rd and 4th round. I gave Lomachenko the 3rd round rather than giving Haney the 3rd on my last round. But I mean, it was a good fight. I think the best way to settle this, of course, is to give us a rematch. I really don't know too much about what the rematch clauses were. It just, I guess it's unfortunate that the judging like this, takes away from. I thought it was a really good fight. I thought it was back and forth what we expected. So, robbery. If it wasn't this close, you take away the 116, the 112. I'm gonna stick with, and I'm gonna say, yeah, I think it is a robbery, especially because of that 116, 112, man. And honestly, I wasn't quite sure yet until like I got here right now. I just know that me, like I
felt like
I
you
can
were
never
thinking
pick,
out
bro.
loud a little bit.
Yeah, right. That's kind of what it is. Like, of course, we're scoring, we're typing, we're writing stuff down, and when you're reading it to yourself, it just sounds different. But when I'm actually saying it out loud, and it just feels different. It just feels like, yeah, I feel like it definitely was a robbery. I mean, the emotions for Lomachenko, he had his chance right here to go undisputed at 135. He had the opponent in front of him. I think one of the, I don't know how it would have been. I think if he would have, it's hard to really say. I think if he would have came off a little more aggressive. I think there was another thing too. I don't know if you guys caught this, but I think the last couple of fights, Lomachenko has lost like the 12th round. I don't know if that would have made a difference. But for some reason, he just doesn't win these 12 rounds. I mean, I would have
You know,
loved to see.
you know what I
What?
noticed, George,
Yeah.
that Lomachenko stopped doing, and part of this goes probably, I kind of believe it. I'm not sure if it's true, but in his little video, I forgot what it was called, but
Mhm.
the little videos before the fights, um, he was saying that he took that loss and that it really humbled him. The
Teofimo.
Delfimo loss.
Yeah.
So, and you could kind of see it in this fight. He wasn't being flashy. He wasn't goofing around like he does sometimes, which his fans go nuts for that. When he kind of like
Go
Yeah.
back
he
to your corner. Go
showboats.
back to your corner.
He
Hey,
showboats.
dude, you're
If
absolutely
he would
right.
have
We
did
didn't
that,
see that.
bro, if he would have did that, there'd be a massive amount more people thinking that he got robbed. And that I just wanted to say that, George.
Yeah, no, dude, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you hear the crowd, didn't it sound like it was pro Loma?
I thought it was pro Loma from the
Yeah.
very beginning, bro. Even
Yeah.
when they entered the ring, I could tell it was. Well, that's what it sounded like to me. And I mean, with the punch exchanges, I feel like every time Loma would have just a little pity pat flurry, crowd would go fucking nuts.
Mhm.
Okay, so George, you classify this one as a robbery.
Yeah,
No,
I
Paul.
call it as a robbery, even though I think it was a draw.
Hey,
The
man.
wrong guy won.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. The wrong guy won. Okay, no, Paul. Let's hear what you have to say. But first, I want to give a warm shout out to Team Batman Boxing, who's in the house. Philly Irish, Drew Evo. Hey, man, you have a like-minded guy here in Georgia. Hope that makes you feel good. Run PMC's here. Haplo, what's happening? The Texan
That
is
was
in
for
the
Drew.
house. Thanks for joining us. He says, "What's up, y'all? Great close fight. No robbery." Okay, no, Paul. How many times did you have a chance to watch this, bro? And what are your thoughts?
I've only seen it once, but guess what? When the judges that's who it comes down to, when they watch a fight live, they only get to watch it once. Not only that, they sit right in front and they miss a bunch of angles. So, they got even less to deal with.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that's okay. I've only seen it once, because maybe I can go back and then come back like everybody else and say, hey, because you're not the only one, George, that thinks that it's a draw or whatever, or, that come back but I kind of feel like people are getting bullied into saying that it's a draw. That's what I think, man, because some guys were like, it was 5-7 and it could go either way, 5-7. I can't see that, bro. I did the rounds that Devin won. He just won them by default because the other guy didn't do as much as we're accustomed to seeing him do, maybe. But in this case, I thought that, the rounds that he won them super big, bro. And he was the one putting in the work to do all this stuff. He was driving Devin back. He was moving him wherever he wanted him to go. He was switching angles on him. And to see a guy with like a 15, 20-pound disadvantage doing that to a guy as big as Haney, looked like he was at least 155 in the ring, basically Canelo weight in there. And, just to see a guy get played like that is just, and you could tell every time he went to the corner, he was just, his dad asked him, are you okay? And he said, yeah, but you could tell he was just capping right there. He wasn't okay because he was confused. He didn't know what to do with Lomachenko, and I thought he was robbed. I remember that the first 3 rounds, I think I gave 2 of them to Loma, and I started already giving stuff to Haney around. I was like, okay, because I can see people thinking that it went the other way, sort of. So I'm like, all right, give him a round. And then sort of, I think Haney pulled it off and won like maybe 3 or 4 rounds in between, or 3 of them. And then that it was going into where I thought, okay, so at the harshest, that I was already thinking, at the harshest, I think that people think it's a draw right now. And that's being generous to Haney.
Yeah.
And then Loma goes out and pulls out another 3 rounds. And then round 12, I don't even think that Haney really won that. Like I said, it's just that maybe Loma didn't do as much as he was supposed to do. And I think that by the 12th, I was thinking, I was like, it was reminiscent of when Oscar got robbed versus Trinidad. I was like, I hope they don't rob him, because he didn't do a lot as much as, you would expect him to go out there and put on a show the last round, but he chose to take it off. But even then, I thought that it was still comfortable, and I thought that Devin Haney needed a knockout by the 12th. honestly, and I do think that he got robbed. Even if you go to the scorecards, I mean, not one guy thought that he won. Either I'm super crazy, I'm going blind or something, and the judges can see better than me. But yes, I think he got robbed, bro. If it was like I think that if it was a little split decision or something like that, I would probably still say that he got robbed. Seriously, and I do recognize that I got to go back and rewatch it because yes, we've rejudged fights and stuff like that. And I probably do got to rewatch it, but I don't think it's gonna be a draw when I rewatch it. And I might be the wrong guy to be saying who won or what didn't because, as I mentioned before, I do not appreciate the way that Devin fights, bro. I don't like his style. I think it's cheap. He's opportunistic. He doesn't do much. Okay. I'm thinking the whole opposite of Lomachenko, and it's taken me a long time to kind of even appreciate Lomachenko's style. I didn't just grow up I didn't just get older and say, hey, or, I didn't just out of the blue become a fan. It took me a while to appreciate his style, so,
Yeah, one thing I agree, right, is boxing is scored off of one time, right, live. So obviously we're watching it. It's kind of like, we're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I agree. Like the live George saw, of course, Loma pulling this off.
Yeah.
But of course, like you said, we dissect it. We kind of go back, and it was kind of like for me. I know it doesn't count, but for me, I was able to kind of stop, rewind a little bit because you can see like the commenting, like, oh, look at Loma. Loma landed 3 shots in a row. Like he was throwing, but actually not just Loma, and they were actually both. Like both were like missing, like they were glancing shots, but I think it was just his hair that kind of like gave that a effect of him getting hit with a solid shot. So if we're scoring this live, yeah, I definitely agree that I thought Loma won this close. But
yeah, and you know what?
Close, but no cigar.
No cigar.
I just thought about another thing. People saying that Devin got exposed. I think he seriously really got exposed. How could you even give him a win, bro? When you beat a guy like Lomachenko, you're supposed to go on and people are supposed to be optimistic about who you can beat now. But I see guys saying that he can't even beat Cepeda. He might get knocked out by Pitbull. He might. There's no way he beats there's no way he beats Shakur. There's absolutely no way he beats Tank. That's what you call exposed, if you ask me. You know what I mean?
Shit. All right. Well,
Yeah,
I want to give a
bro.
shout out to Remy. Oh, you answered my own question. So he had it 7-5 for Loma. Philly Irish, man, you got a nice panel here full of some holdouts. Some of the people that are still saying it's a robbery, bro. I'm sure you're feeling good because they're getting harder and harder to find because as the days go by, a lot of people come back and go, maybe that wasn't so much of a robbery. But you have some allies here, Drew. I'm sure it feels good, brother. All right.
Didn't Tim Bradley even go back and like he thought that Haney won?
I'm not sure about that, but I know
I think later on he said
backtracked.
that it was a draw. And then what's his name? Even Shakur.
Shakur backtracked.
He probably got, the LDBC got in their ear, started calling him a coon. So, they start feeling bad. So, okay. But Shakur said that he thinks it could have been a draw, but he still has it 7-5 Loma.
Yeah,
so, there you
like
go.
Draw or for Loma, right?
Yeah.
El Chido boxing, what's happening, man? And then Remy here says that Haney's 90% power body punches to Loma's 95 power punches to the body. Who really won? Okay, well, Haplo says, what's up, Haplo? He's happy to see you here, Nopo. I told him you could only find the YTBC legend Nopo Boxionos here at El Chile, bro. Sometimes he'll go somewhere else if he's drunk, but this is where he hangs out mainly. All right. And Haplo says that he watched it twice. Same score, draw. Well, that's how I had it the night of, dude.
Even a draw is a robbery. Keep in mind, bro. If you got 3 judges that are just all got it for Haney, that's still a robbery right there. If you honestly think that it's a draw, which I respect that, anybody, especially Haplo and anybody else on here, because, we're all boys and stuff. I respect what you guys are saying, but I still think that that even a draw was, if you should, I say even if they would have made it a draw, and just look at the scorecards, bro. They're way off of a draw. Okay, unanimous. Not even one guy said it was a draw. That's a robbery right there.
Okay, so you guys seem to be angry particularly at the scorecards What if it was like split decision Haney and it was like, a 7-5 kind of win? I mean, would that be
Yeah, because
more
115,
digestible?
113 pretty much says the guy won by a
7-5, right?
round, right? 115, 113 is like by a round. So the next two scores were 115, 113. So that means one of those rounds were up for grabs. Like it could have went either way. I think it would have been a split. So
You know what I would have been okay with, maybe, now that I think about it? One guy calling it a draw, one guy having it for Haney, and then the other guy having it for Loma. I would have been probably like, okay, that's not that bad. You know what I mean? I could accept that. Now you guys are now I'm getting worked by the system, bro, because I'm accepting a little less than what I believe. You know what I mean? But I think that would have been okay. But there ain't that many people that think that Haney won. Seriously.
yeah, there's not.
Okay, just for the record, I had it a draw the night of with some swing rounds. I watched it again sober the next day. No, Paul, were you drinking that night? The one time you scored it, were you drinking?
Nah, I wasn't drinking at all, bro.
All right, straight as an arrow. That's how
Guess
Nopal
what,
does
man?
it.
By the seventh round, I was clapping for Loma, bro, because he was doing some good shit in there.
He was doing some good shit, and I felt like he had his patented rally. Okay, I saw it like that both times, but for my rescore, I watched it again. I had Loma winning 8-4, but there were enough swing rounds to conceivably give this fight to Haney, in my opinion.
8-4.
8-4,
Dang.
but
Right.
sometimes when you watch a fight, I notice this, and like we've been doing a lot of swing round notations. Like typically, my swing rounds kind of stay the same, and they kind of go to the person, even though I think it could go either way. Sometimes I'll still give it to like the person who I want to give it to, kind of. Not that I want to give it to them, but this is a time where I actually saw swing rounds. I didn't look at my previous card, and the swing rounds were the same, right? But they were flipped, right? So it gave Haney the loss, right? Loma got the win, but I could still see it for Haney. That's just my opinion, right? I gotta say this, bro. Like, I want to give a shout out real quick to Haplo, who says Martiotti gave a 10 round for Haney. It was the most egregious error I saw. Round 10 for Haney. Yeah, that was egregious. Okay. But I've seen some other egregious things on the other side, bro. Like one thing that's been pissing me off is like some of the narratives that have come out, right? Some people have been trying to talk about round 10 being a 10-8 round. I think that's absurd. That was one of the things where I heard it a few times around the YTBC, like, oh, that was a 10-8 round. I'm like, if you think that was a 10-8 round, I think you just want Loma to win this fight. Like, it's not like he was getting his ass kicked. Like, I think he was hurt, but hiding it, but he was not on Queer Street, in my opinion. There wasn't even that much action going on in those later rounds. Like when you watch it again, like it's exciting to watch. And if you're scoring, it's exciting to watch, but there were a lot of lows in that fight.
Yeah, you're right. And that's why it was like that's why I had to rewatch it, because like there was moments where I'm like, okay, Loma did this really well. Oh, then Haney, answered back with landing this, but the thing is Haney wasn't landing high flurries like the way Lomachenko was. So it wasn't as like, oh shit, he's landing these many punches. Kind of like it was like 1-2, it was like 2 body shots, and he would always reset. You know what I mean? So it was, for me, it was hard. I mean, a draw at worst, but I definitely agree. I think that it should have went to Lomachenko for this, but this was, and am I right? Okay, let's just say the scores. Let's just say Lomachenko won this fight, right? Overall, do you guys think this was a good fight? Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think Haney, did his best, but obviously lost to a better man?
What I would say is this, man, is if they would have gave it to Loma, I don't think anybody would have been mad about that. Nobody would have said, hey, I'd say, let's just say 1% of the YouTube boxing community would have probably said, which that's freaking minuscule, bro. I don't think anybody would have the guts to try to say that Haney got robbed at all, bro. I don't
They
think
wouldn't
one
call
guy
it a
would.
robbery, bro. But you know what? I think everybody, including myself, I think you guys and the general public, I think everybody wanted to see Loma win. Like, I think he was the sentimental favorite going into that fight. That's what I think. Not that that's like the factor, but I don't know. We all wanted him to get the win. Like we all felt for Loma. And as we all get older, like us guys, like, you kind of want to see the old guy pull it out a little more, right?
I can accept that, man. No, I'd say it's like this, bro. And that's part of what you said is correct. I'd say that, that he's a sentimental favorite, and we're like, you're like, you have the fact reserved. If he can pull out a good performance like he did, then he deserves the win. Okay, 3 of the judges said he didn't win. Okay, so a lot of people think it's a robbery, man.
Oh yeah, and Bruce, welcome, man. I want to know how you had it, dude. Please let us know, okay? And the other thing that I want to discuss is there's some post-fight shit coming out. You know, Devin Haney's pissed off because, as we know, Loma and his team are going to petition some kind of protest about this. And Devin Haney came out and said this guy's a fucking sore loser. Get this privileged sore loser out of boxing. He makes excuses as he goes. Take your loss like a man and stop crying. It was set up for you to win the 3rd time in your career, and you failed. Tell the commission to give me my 400,000 back for that push. Damn. No, Paul, what do you think about that, bro?
I don't know, man. I'm starting to wonder who's really privileged in this boxing game, because I've seen a lot of weird robberies like that. So, Haney can play that game about who's privileged and who's not, but I've seen a lot of things, man, in about the span of 20 years. And, you know, as far as who's privileged, sometimes the guys that even bring in all the money are not privileged that way. You know what I mean? They get used. And a guy like Haney gets put in there like Tim Bradley did. And, you know, we're going to use this guy to rob a couple people now. And, you know, and that way we can keep the money coming in because we're running out of fights. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if that's what happened, you know, in the past, but, you know, that's one thing that came to my mind. And, you know, Bob Arum's known to do shit like that. But, you know, as far as the 400,000, man, there's a couple different ways I could look at that, man. One is this. I do hate it when another guy does that and oversteps his boundaries. It doesn't matter who it is. I've seen Tank do shit like that, which I think is fucked up, you know? He kicked Rolly off the stage. He tried to on one of the weigh-ins he tried to sock what's his name? Ryan Garcia, and it makes me think, you know, if these guys are getting away with shit like that, how come the opponent doesn't come ready for that type of shit and initiates that type of thing versus the A-side fighter? So, you know, I think that it's cool that they're setting an example. And I don't know how much that 400K is going to make a dent in in Haney's wallet, but I'm glad that they finally did something about it, you know, because these guys should. It's cool to get a good stare down, but you know, I think that these fighters should respect themselves, and I think that, you know, I think that that's cool that they set an example, you know, as far as that.
No, Paul, you touched on something I want to talk about, man. Okay, so you were kind of making it seem like maybe Loma was getting phased out a little bit, right? Or the system
What do you
was
mean
phasing him
phased out?
Well, just like he was kind of like the older fighter, and they're kind of giving it to Haney because he's like the new guy with the new fights. You said something like that, right? Oh, maybe I misunderstood you. I guess that's what's
something
going
like that.
I think you read it in the
No,
comments.
I'm not sure if I was specifically saying that, but that's a possibility too, Chicano. You know what I mean? I just don't understand why they robbed this dude like that. He is getting older and stuff, but clearly he has enough in the tank to keep entertaining us for another 2 or 3 years, you know?
Well, good point. Like, what would be the incentive, right? According to what Devin Haney had to say, he's no longer under contract with Top Rank. Okay, so he's going to be a free agent. This doesn't really benefit Top Rank, although we have seen the old guy get phased out. Now, we did the George Foreman versus, what was that guy's name? Hasim, not Rahman. Who was that guy he lost? Shannon Briggs. We classified that one as a robbery, so the lineal champ got robbed. Okay, some people think that Hopkins did enough to beat Taylor. He got phased out. Old fighters get phased out all the time. I mean, they tried it. One judge tried to give the Mayweather fight to Canelo. It can happen like that, right?
You know what I will say, and it just adds kind of to your point, is like sometimes these guys are at Top Rank or masterminds of opening opportunities, more angles for their fighters. So if you can look at it this way, this opens up the opportunity for Loma to go straight for Tank Davis, which I don't think he can win that. But if Tank and them guys offer him enough money, and Tank and you know, of course Bob Arum's going to let him go over there now because he's got nothing to lose now. If they offer him enough money now, the other guy gets the prestige of beating Loma by knockout or whatever, or in a more convincing manner than Haney does. And then Haney gets to fight Shakur, or he just keeps, you know, adding legacy to his belts and all that. And, you know, it just creates more opportunities for Top Rank to make money. So maybe that way. And, you know, I'm kind of assuming that he did resign, but there's other guys saying that there's no truth to that. Maybe they just
Haney
told
said
Haney
today on Twitter that he's a free agent. He said it today.
But maybe he's just saying that. We don't know if it's true. You know what I mean? Because the way
True.
that Paulie put it down is like, I'm 100% sure that he resigned. Because he better, if he's talking shit like that, he better retract the statement. Because that's a load of bull to be saying some shit like that the way that he said it. He's sure that he resigned. And a guy like Paulie Malignaggi should not be allowed to spread lies like that.
Yeah, supposedly they got like a beef going on, right? Haney and Malignaggi. Yeah, I heard that too. I was listening to Tim Bradley on an interview today. It was live. He said that was not true at all. That Haney did not, you know, and I mean, we, you know, sometimes when you have guys on the inside like Tim Bradley, of course they're not gonna tell you the truth, right? They might have like some NDA where they can't, or you know, a non-disclosure agreement that they can't really say much. But he's pretty much, his argument was, look, I'm on the inside, like I am with Top Rank. I would have heard about Devin Haney re-signing. So we won't know until it's true, right? Because I know, I think the last press conference, he's like, yeah, it's my last fight. I'm not technically going to be a free agent. Like I like fighting for ESPN and like to fight for Bob Arum, so I want to continue to fight for them. So I think maybe they misconstrued that and thought, oh, you know what, he re-signed, but we really don't know. And you know, I do want to answer too is Chilo made a point too, that, and I agreed. And I thought that was my first thought was, yeah, the young guy coming in, and then also another part of it too is, as much as we don't like to play like race or play that card, like, you know, he is a young American, right? So they probably see that there is an angle there to keep promoting him because he is still young enough. You know, he's a champion. He just beat the guy that Top Rank held really high, right? They love Lomachenko there too. So it's kind of passing of the torch. I think it was the wrong time. I still feel like there could be some more fights that he could have done that on, but we all know, who knows what where this would have went if they would have given Loma that fight. You know, does Top Rank kind of lose an angle with or leverage with someone like a Devin Haney, and he's undisputed, and they want to try to re-sign him? Like I would like, you know, if I had a bulletin board, that'd kind of be like my whole thing all over the place. Would be like, okay, if Loma won, this is what would happen. If Devin wins, he's young, he's an American, you know, he's is well spoken, and I think what hurt his stock a little bit was of course at the weigh-in and how he pushed him. You know, is he playing the villain now because everybody loves a fucking villain?
Yeah. Maybe he's building.
These are all good points. Go ahead, Nopal.
He's building his value, huh? Definitely by doing shit like that, you know.
Yeah.
Well, he gave us a lot to talk about, you know, and Happel here, he agrees with the sense that maybe this is a setup for the future, in the sense that Loma helped bring that on himself by saying he may retire before the fight. I don't get why boxers do that. You know, you're gonna say that after the fight, if at all. Yeah, save it for after the fight. I think that was a smart move. The Texan here says Loma versus Tank next. Haney not sticking around 135. Loma might be able to come back swinging with this one, except Shakur, in my opinion. Okay, well, let's talk about that. And that is a good question. Like, okay, say the powers that be are setting this up for Haney, the young guy, to kind of move forward with that win, right? As the undisputed champ. He is the champion at 135 pounds, undisputed, whether we think other people can beat him or not. But how far can he go with it? Can he take it and run with it? Like, that's a really good question. Oh, real quick. Yeah. Oscar didn't do himself any favors by this tweet, but we're going to move on. Poor Oscar, man. He's still salty about that one. You got to let it go, Oscar. You got to let it go. But I want to take a look at the odds here, bro. Let's take a look at the odds now. This is from Bet Online. This is the sports book that I use. Okay, so odds have come out for Devin Haney with any future bets that you could put money on right now. So Tank Davis versus Devin Haney. It looks like Tank Davis would only be a slight favorite, less than a 2-1 favorite against Devin Haney. And you could get a little more than even money if you bet on Devin Haney. These odds are a little tighter than I would have expected, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would say. I thought I would have at least thought the Tank one would have been just a little bit more wider.
Yeah, I would have thought like 3-1. So, I mean, they must have liked what they saw with Haney. Although I did too, man. Haney impressed me. You know, I cooked that night up, so I let you guys talk about what you saw. But I thought Haney did a lot of good work, man. I thought he looked sharp. I thought that he was not outclassed in any sense. I felt like he had heart too. He gritted it out. I think you could give him that 12th round, which I had as a swing. I felt like he did a really good job countering. I felt like his jab was effective. And here's the other thing too, before I lose my train of thought on it. The other thing that pissed me off about this whole all Loma one thing is people were trying to discount Haney's body shots. I've been listening to the YTBC since its inception, and I've never heard this concept that, well, body shots don't count as much as headshots. Body shots are really more meant to slow the person down. So if you aren't hurt, it doesn't count as much. I was hearing some stupid shit out there. I'm glad that a lot of people shut that down because a clean scoring blow is a clean scoring blow. And Devin Haney was the only one in that fight throwing body shots as far as I could tell.
Yeah, true. Because I would say about the 9th round, Andre Ward was even saying where's the body work from Lomachenko. I think if there was some body work, I think, who knows, it could be completely different. And yeah, it wasn't like Loma dominated these rounds, right? Like you said, these could have easily been swing rounds. It was razor sharp. So I guess my point too was, at the time, Max Kellerman had it up, I think 4-1 after 5 rounds. And like 6, 7, 8, those were like those were swing rounds for me. I don't know if you guys had those swing rounds as well, but I think maybe Max the first 5 rounds were 4-1. And then the next 3 rounds, he had it 4-4. And those rounds stood out to me as swing rounds. I was wondering if him looking down at his scorecard thinking, you know what, if I give these to Haney, and this is a very, very close fight, these rounds can go anywhere else, and I give these to Haney, like what is the public going to think? Do you think that because Haney's on here, like I end up giving him these closer rounds? So I feel like maybe that's why at the time, like Max Kellerman kind of gave him, made it 4-4. But I mean, there's so many outcomes. Like I said, that's the beauty of what we could do is we can pause, rewind. We could, watch everything as it happens. But the only true scoring that counts is live. And I think a majority, if not all, watching it live, obviously favored Loma.
That's true. I want to give a shout out to Haplo again, who says body shots hurt more, in my opinion. The Texan also agrees, saying, yeah, body shots are the new jabs that don't win rounds and really matter all of a sudden. Good call, man. Good call.
That's what that's what I was saying, bro. To be honest, I tweeted it out. I said he's probably the first guy that in the history of boxing that, maybe I was exaggerating a little bit, that gets credit for some body shots. And I don't think they were effective, bro. I think seriously, we've seen good body shots that lead to some actual damage. But I do agree with you guys. Lomachenko, man, he really missed the mark on that. And, being so experienced that he is, come on, man. You got them angles, bro. He could have, when he had, what's his name, angled out, when he pulled that angle, he could have just landed a body shot. He probably could have knocked Haney down, And
exactly. Like, if we're going
to
to talk about...
That's the one thing that did later disappoint me about Loma, but I still don't think that single detail is enough to say that it was a draw or that it's not a robbery,
Well, all I'll say is this, dude, like Loma couldn't just come in willy-nilly, like there were times where I saw him probing, and then reset again. And I didn't know why, because nothing had happened. There were times where there'd be like 45 seconds of Loma doing nothing before getting going, taking breaks in the middle of the rounds, taking breaks towards the end of the rounds, right? And we know that he wasn't pushing in that 12th round. I think we all agree on that. Even Loma said that, okay, Drew, you got some like-minded fellas here, dude, and you've heard everything we have to say. What are your thoughts? And just so everybody knows, Philly Irish, a stalwart of Lomachenko, man, he's out there pushing the robbery idea. This is the last time he'll be able to address it amongst the Mexicans, amongst the homies. What are your thoughts, Drew?
I'm going to stand on for a couple minutes because I'm in the middle eating some pizza.
All right.
And
fair enough. I know it's been a rough week. That's some comfort food, Drew.
I look at it like this, like Haney food elbow. Like there's pictures. I'm looking at pictures, and I watched the fight when they were close. Haney did flew some elbows in that fight too, and no one noticed it.
Yep,
and the thing about it is,
nobody cared, Drew.
Nobody did care. Nobody cared.
Yeah. Hey,
Look,
guess what? The other guy's the one that said, "Hey, don't be hitting me on the brakes." And guess what ends up happening? he's the one that does that shit,
He's
right?
the dirty fighter. He was the one being the dirty fighter in that fight. So, like, here's the thing. I couldn't see myself giving Haney no more than 4 rounds.
But hey, guess what? You're already giving him an extra round every single time that you rewatch the fight. Because when you were scoring it live, you said it was 10-2, bro.
Yeah, and then I gave him 9-3. But now I was like this. But I told you guys, I can't see myself giving it no more than 4 rounds because the round 2 was a swing round for me. I think our guy could have got it, but I gave it to Loma and everything because Loma won the last 30. Loma came back and took the last 30 seconds of that round to win the fight, to win the round off of Haney because it was neck and neck.
Which round are we talking about?
What, number 2?
Oh,
So
I think I gave that one to Haney.
So I saw a consistent attack from Loma, and I really see Loma was the one pushing the bigger guy back all night. And people are saying, "Oh, Haney goes back on his own all the time." No, here's the thing. So if Chicano pushes me and I go back, does that mean I go back on my own because I want to go back? No.
No, but out of the two, Haney, in my opinion, is the one that can fight on the back foot.
Yes.
He can choose to fight on the back foot.
He can, but
I think the other guy has the ability to do it, man.
But
I think Loma, he's
just
good at
doesn't
like
fight that way.
moving back and resetting. And
You know what
maybe
it
he could
is, I
punch on the
think?
way out a little.
He's fighting with these bigger guys, so if he goes on the back foot, bro, these guys are gonna catch him at the end of the jab, which that's not always effective, but it does move your face back, you know. And I think that's how Haney's body punches were, because I don't think it slowed Loma down at all. I think they were just catching him at the end, and they might have looked flashy, but you know, I don't think they did any kind of damage. They were just stopping his action from keep coming in, you know.
And the thing about it is, I saw one combination. This was like a 4+ combination, and Loma landed all of them. Like, he baited Devin Haney to come inside, to come in. He came in. He threw a straight right hand Haney. Loma was able to hit him underneath the armpit and then go inside and nail a straight left and then go for an up and then nail an uppercut. And then when Haney went back out, he was able to land another uppercut to Haney.
Okay, see, that's the thing that bugs me about Loma, this whole baiting thing. Like, you know, if Haney hadn't pushed the action at times, it would have been a boring fight, because I've seen Loma. He'll literally let seconds just tick by, waiting for the other guy to do something, okay? Now, in Little Penny's here, so perfect timing for you, Little Penny. So in the Marquez versus Pacquiao fights, okay? Now, a lot of us think Marquez won certain fights, right? And we all agree the third fight was a robbery. But what I did say, and I've said this multiple times, is that Pacquiao was the one making those fights. Marquez was just kind of in the center, just ready to counter. If Pacquiao wasn't going in there and launching, right, there would have been no fight. Pacquiao was making those fights, and he got the benefit of the doubt, right? Lomachenko, man, he doesn't do himself any favors with his style when he's at the high level. Like, when he can just outclass you, he can win. But when it's at that high level and you need to eke out a round, like, he's too busy trying to, I don't know, set himself up. Like I said, it's like he fights with a tutu on. That's somebody said that, and I thought that's appropriate. You know, skate around, you know, try to look a little fancy, do his little bee sting punches, and get out of there. At 135, don't get me wrong. I think it's a different story in the lower weight classes, but he simply didn't do enough, in my opinion, to secure this win. I mean, obviously he did lose. That's just my opinion, though.
But you did rewatch it and have it 7-5 Loma at the end. So
I had Loma winning, but I had enough swing rounds to where I could see it for Haney. I wanted Loma to win. I had money on Loma. I didn't like what Haney did ahead of time with that shove.
Dang.
It just is what it is, dude. Like, you know, like I think people are making too much of it. But here's what the odd makers have to say. They say that if they fight again, that Lomachenko would only be a plus 160 underdog. Now, these odds have tightened just a little bit. They were wider before. They've tightened. Yeah. So they think if you go back and see it again, that, you know, Loma has a better chance this time around, in their opinion. But I think that's interesting, because usually, even if the first fight's controversial, usually the younger guy is going to win in that rematch, right? So and Lomachenko is getting pretty old, you know. And that's the other thing too. Like, I wouldn't mind if Lomachenko had a trainer switch. I know Papachenko this, Papachenko that, but you know what? Like, and maybe he is the best Ukrainian coach, but there's something missing in that corner. He needs a fire lit under him. He probably can't learn anymore. He needs to take what he learned, all that amateur boxing pedigree, all those fancy footwork moves from Ukrainian dance lessons. Go somewhere in America and find yourself an American trainer and try to take these last few fights seriously. You don't owe your dad nothing. He might understand because the formula ain't working, Papa.
I didn't think
maybe
he a rematch.
Maybe he can hire Rigondeaux. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, because you got to get a short ass coach, right?
Lil Penny here says that Loma didn't dig in like an A+ fighter should in that last round. I have to agree, man. I mean, not even Drew disagrees with that one. Too close of a fight, could have gone either way, but Loma could have made it definitive with the win, but he chose not to, or he couldn't do it. Yeah, dude. Yeah, or you know, yeah, get somebody like Teddy Atlas. That could be a good option, you know. And so okay, say Haney does get the torch, right? I mean, he ran out of the ring when the young gun Shakur Stevenson came in, wanted some of that smoke. Haney didn't have much to say about it at all. All right, there were no odds posted for this one, but this fight is tasty, right? If Tank's not involved, Georgie, what do you think about this potential fight coming up next? Who would you favor?
Shakur. I definitely would favor Shakur, man. That wasn't really hard for me to you know, think about it or try to break down that fight. I just Shakur, you know, I think Shakur would do it. I think Shakur would do where Lomachenko failed. And that's not like a disrespect to what Lomachenko did, but I think Shakur, I mean, we just seen over the last 3 fights or 2 fights, a different Lomachenko, I mean, a different Shakur, right? We saying, no, he's kind of pillow-fisted. He doesn't really knock anybody out. We've seen an aggressive front foot Shakur fighter, more of a front foot and, you know, in the pocket. I think he'll take a little bit of what Lomachenko did and just make it Shakur. And I think he'd just be more aggressive. I mean, he's fast enough. You know, I don't know. Again, simple Shakur. I got Shakur winning that.
All right. No, Paul. What do you think, bro?
Let me ask Ray Charles who he think would win that one real quick.
They should ask Steve too.
Yeah, you already know, bro. Just whatever George said, bro. Drew,
Okay, so
what you think?
Drew, okay, if Haney's good enough to steal a win against Loma, is that good enough against somebody like Shakur Stevenson?
No, tell you the truth, he's for the pure boxer. The pure boxer took away his best weapon, his jab.
What was that? Oh, come on, man! Don't bring that up.
And the
thing don't want to hear that, man.
And the thing about it is, his advantages when he fights Shakur Stevenson, all his advantages are gone. Like even when he moves up to 140, all his advantages are gone.
You think he'll go back to clinching versus Shakur?
He won't.
Hey, what's his name is super good at the clinches so much that Haney didn't even try that with Loma. He took a lot of stuff away from him, not just the jabs, bro. He took away basically everything that the dude is known for.
Here's the thing. I don't think he's going to be able to clinch Shakur, and if he does, I think Shakur will be able to fight out of it and to make Haney pay because he'll be leaving himself open to get hit to the body. And I think Shakur will be the guy to hit him there. And I think now, if you saw his last fight, I think power went up with Shakur Stevenson. I think Shakur stops Devin Haney because he'll catch Devin Haney because I think he's the better boxer than Devin Haney because Shakur has a lot more weapons than Haney has.
Hey, probably not though, Drew, because we all know that he couldn't stop Valdez or anything close to that. So how could you say that he's gonna stop Devin Haney, bro? He'll probably put an ass whooping on him. You know what I mean? Like win it by most of the rounds, but I don't think he'll stop him.
Here's the thing. Devin Haney is trying to portray himself as a villain now. The same thing way Floyd tried to do in his career. But we all know Devin Haney will never be half the fighter that Floyd Mayweather was. He will never be as good as Floyd Mayweather is.
Right.
He's not even close.
Well, you know, I've heard some of, and I peek over at the PPC call every once in a while, and even they're saying that Haney might have a ceiling, and I think we've already seen it. So was Haney exposed? I'd like to frame it more like we kind of see his ceiling. Like a young man like that really should be throwing more combinations. Like he's like a pot shotter at a very young age. I feel like combinations with him are, I feel like, just a lost art, right? When he should be throwing combos, he doesn't seem to have the energy to, or the will, or maybe he doesn't want to be countered. But this pot shot thing's not going to work for too much longer. And I think the Haney team knows it. And I think that's going to be part of the way they kind of move forward. Like, they're going to be selective, but try to cash out, but not make it seem like they're cashing out, because, Bill Haney Sr. doesn't want to tell us, like, all right, son, we're about to cash out now. Right. I mean, that's not what they're going to do. They're going to try to win, but I don't know, dude. They can only take it so far. Like, I think if he wanted to go up to 140 and take a tune up like Jose Ramirez or something like that, maybe he could last for a little while. But besides that, he's going to get washed by any real 140 pounders.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think it was just the style, right? Lomachenko isn't going to sit there and try to trade with you. He's moving around, so he couldn't grab. He couldn't really sit on his punches too much. I think he had to kind of be selective. So, I mean, it is going to be interesting. I think that was one thing that I thought of too. Chicano was, his next few opponents. Who are they going to match him up with?
He's really exposed at some levels now, because what's he going to do? Try to fight like he normally fights again? Like, tell you the truth, if he fights a boxer, that boxer's going to get around that jab and hit him. If he tries to fight small again against a boxer, that the same thing's going to happen. That boxer's going to get to him all night. Devin Haney is really at a crossroads now with, I just gave everybody some type of blueprint how to beat me.
Drew with the blueprints. Okay, well, Shakur, that's the other thing. The PBC cult has started to disown Shakur Stevenson because, well, he's trying to embrace his Puerto Ricanness, speaking of what Haplo and D-Style have to say. So, Shakur's trying to be more Puerto Rican. I think Latinos should draft him. If he's available, we should take him because the guy's extremely talented. I'm not used to rooting for the Puerto Rican that much, but I'll do it, right? I mean, we all know that Georgie likes Cotto, right? So it's not like it's impossible that we can root for the Latino in general, right? That's what we're going to do. So if Shakur wants to come on over, let's embrace him while we can, while they've cut him loose, because they're backing Haney. I say we do it, man. Come on over, Shakur.
Yo, they were butthurt because he had Loma winning, huh? They were like,
Yeah, they're sitting there saying they're saying all kinds of stuff, bro. Like, I don't want to quote
they were saying stuff about his mom and stuff, huh?
Yeah, saying like, well, your mom raised you, right? Your mom raised
your daddy.
You're trying to embrace your a culture where you don't even know because your dad wasn't around. Some crazy shit. And I'm not exaggerating. I've heard some ugly stuff, dude. I'm telling you. I've sent you guys some of the clips, because I listen for entertainment purposes. Like, it's bad, bro. Shakur hasn't done nothing, right? But I mean, they've softened up ever since he backtracked on his scorecard.
He went off code for a minute, huh?
Here's the thing, man. It's just a bunch of low IQ motherfuckers. It's all
low
right.
IQ.
Point blank.
Yeah, but I gotta get out of here, guys. Thank you.
All right, Drew. Any last final thoughts about Lomachenko, bro? What do you want to see from him next, dude?
Go down to 130 and go dispute it.
All right. Very nice. I think he could do it. Speaking of 130 pounds, man, let's get into it. We heard the news, dude. It looks like Emmanuel Navarrete versus Oscar Valdez is set nearly for August 12th here in Arizona, where Georgie and I will go. Hopefully.
We are.
I'm not sure if we're going to go as fans or maybe try to get some credentials. I don't even know if we could get credentials, but we know people, man. We're connected, right? So we'll see what happens. Nopal, what do you think about this fight, man?
Man, I love it, bro. But you know what, man? I don't know who's gonna win, and I'm not even gonna look into that. And I'm not even gonna say who's gonna win. Who may the best man win? And thank God that Mexicans do fight each other. That's what I gotta say about that one.
Yes, very good. Okay, Georgie, what are your thoughts, man?
I like it. I actually liked what I saw too from Oscar. I thought in the Lopez fight, he looked a little bit rusty. It looked like Lopez. He was looking predictable. I even said it in the text. I'm like, he's looking like Lopez is kind of catching his rhythm. And then literally the next round, Valdez just went on a tear. He switched up his plan. He adjusted and pretty much dominated from there on out. It's a good fight. Navarrete showed some vulnerabilities in his last fight. It's a good fight, man. Let's see what happens. I think it's going to be one of those. It's 2023, man. What can we expect? I mean, any more surprises? It's a great fight. It's a great fight.
Yeah, dude, I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, man, we should either make the trip as fans or we should get some credentials. Like, I don't know if our small channel will be able to get it, but we could go under the guise of somebody else's channel. We can make it happen, dude. We can make it happen. We're here. Okay. And some people are coining themselves as certain things, right? Like our boy Cano's like the voice of Puerto Rican boxing. Broadway Joel's the voice of Dominican boxing. Black and Brown, he's definitely the voice of Northern California boxing. And Georgie and myself might be the voice of Arizona boxing. How does that sound?
We're trying.
That sounds good to
Let
me, man.
Let me be the
good to me.
voice of anything that has to do with Mexican.
Hey,
Chauncey Pro says he'll be in AZ tomorrow. Well, I'm in Tucson, brother. So that's like like an hour or 40 minutes away, man. So I don't know if you're gonna make it this far south, my friend. But I am glad you decided to hit us up, man. If occasion brings you over this way, man, please feel free to let me know, man. It would be cool to kick it with you, bro. Yeah, dude. It looks here like D-Style saying Feliz Navidad to you too, Remy. Nice, man. But yeah, we're gonna be looking forward to this fight. And I don't know. I'm not going to break it down quite yet, but I would like to get some credentials and maybe go check out the weigh and try to get some interviews. It seems to me like fighters are a little bit more accessible here in Arizona when they come out here, right?
Absolutely.
That
and it's
would be
ESPN.
super cool.
It's ESPN, it's going to be a pretty damn good card.
Hey, when you get credentials, does it mean you get in free too, or what?
Por supuesto.
Serious? You got to ask Maestro on that. I know.
Yeah, ask Maestro.
He's always getting credentialed. So
I think that's why he gets the credentials sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, but he was at Loma and he was just at that fight. So, he pays for his ticket and all that shit. So he does basically waste money to get out there,
JC here says Arizona has got some viejas though. Yeah, you ain't lying, JC. It's been nice. I've been here for about a month and it's nice just looking around. That ain't no lie. And it's nice and hot right now, if you know what I'm saying. All right, man. Well, okay. So speaking of Puerto Ricans, we'll do a quick little fantasy fight. What about Crawford versus Camacho at 135, Georgie?
Crawford versus Camacho. Oh, Crawford. Gotta go Crawford.
No, Paul, what do you think? Could Camacho style at 135 against Crawford?
Oh, I think I don't know, man. Camacho was pretty good, bro. I missed a lot of his fights, but he did really well at those weights. So I don't know. I'd say Camacho, man.
Hey, that's fair. But that's the thing. We kind of missed his prime, and he did have a prime, right? I mean, there's a documentary about him. He was pretty good. I remember
Chavez whooped his ass, and he didn't want none of that smoke. But he wasn't in his. I don't think he was in his prime no more, and that was kind of his fault. Yeah, because he ducked Chavez early. But you know what? He was a special fighter, so it's hard to say. I don't want to do either fighter a disservice. So let me just rephrase that. I don't know who would win. Because the other dude's not even here anymore, and he had a good career. So it's hard to say. Sometimes we start saying, oh, this fighter would tear up that fighter, but we don't. Honestly, we don't know. What would happen.
Okay, looks like we're here just trying to get some a Puerto Rican some views right here, possibly. Well, you know what? I'll tell you this. One of my childhood vivid memories is Camacho versus Chavez, right? And then I definitely remember Camacho versus De La Hoya. But I mean, even between then, Camacho had a shit ton of wins. He might have been passive, but it wasn't like he was this faded boxer who fought De La Hoya. At the time, he had stacked up a shit ton of wins after losing to Chavez, if I remember right. I don't know, man. I don't know. Camacho. Those Puerto Ricans, they don't ever really want to engage, so maybe Crawford would win that fight. But let's talk about Crawford versus Spence. It looks like this fight's official. All right. Now, we've only talked about this fight a couple times. Always when it's a false, it looks like it's official. But this time, it really looks like it's almost official. Okay, Georgie, do you believe it? I mean, are you excited? Do you believe it?
It's hard to say. I want to believe it for the sake of this fight. I mean, the longer it goes on, the time is our father time is ticking, and I mean he's getting closer to one of them or to both of them, and the longer Spence stays out of the ring, it does benefit Crawford because Crawford has been the busier of the two, and I just don't want any excuses for whether guy wins, but you guys already know who I'm going for. If this fight is official, I was even hearing again, going back to the interview of Timothy Bradley, he said that the fights aren't even officially signed until the day before the fight actually happening. So he said this. He said this coming from his mouth that one of the Pacquiao fights, the fight wasn't even signed yet until the day before the fight happened. So we don't really know. I mean, they really haven't said any too much detail. They said it's in Vegas. We don't know what network. It's really none of our business on what the purse split is going to be, but we've heard, so much shit coming from these two guys. If this fight is really happening, then hey, man, it's finally happening. I predicted last year on D Styles' channel that this fight wasn't going to happen until this year. So here it is. I think if this is the time, here it is. Hopefully not later. You're on mute.
No, Paul, I had muted you just for a second, brother, because you have a little bit of feedback, brother. But, dude, what are your thoughts? Do you believe that this fight's going to happen now? How are you feeling about this one? And are you excited like you would have been a few years ago, or is this fight really just not as important as it used to be?
Nah, bro, I don't even care about this fight anymore, to be honest. Just when they say it's going to come, dude, I don't care, bro. I'm getting this fight I'm not going to really – I might not even watch this fight, to be honest, bro. I don't really care. I think it's too late, for my opinion.
Damn.
You know what I mean? So as of right now, I don't even care about this fight, and I'm not going to fall for no bullshit that they signed it. And even if they do sign it, it's like, I don't care, bro. I'm more excited actually for Diaz, Jake Paul, bro, because, Diaz is from the 209. So let's just put that in there, man. I'm not even excited for this fight, man.
Damn. Well, I'll be honest myself. Like, I was a little pumped when it first happened, but I remember being more excited when we had another false start like 6 months back when it looked like it might happen. I'm just not as excited as I used to be about this. Like, it does feel old and stale. Like, I'm sure if they do some press conferences, and I think that they should do like a 4-city tour real quick, start talking that shit with each other, right? Start getting up in each other's faces, right? Kind of this like, well, you can't run now. Now I got you kind of thing. And I think people could get excited. I think that they could, but we just need to get pumped somehow, and some shit talking would do the trick.
Yeah, that was my thought as well. As it's stale. I think the best words you put out there, Chicano, was that it's stale, right? I mean, why if they're trying to go about this like trying to marinate or try to get the ball rolling or try to make people excited, that's not the way to do it. So was there really business shit behind closed doors that's really preventing this fight to happen? Like I said, I'm not excited. I mean, okay, I am excited because I've been wanting to see this fight, but I think 2 years ago or even last year, I mean, it made more sense then. I mean, again, there's no reason to kind of let this fight marinate or to let it build. It's already kind of there. I think if it's official and it's going to happen, I think with press conferences, we're going to obviously see social media, the shit talking from both sides. I think it'll get the ball rolling eventually. And I think the week of the fight or even the weigh-in, I think it'll kind of settle in, and then we'll see, where they're at. Cause again, Spence hasn't fought in over a year. So we know Crawford stays in shape. So we know he's going to be ready. Like what is Crawford, what is Spence going to bring? Is he going to be training just strictly to lose weight? I mean, I don't know. There's too many. For me, it's a lot of factors in there.
Yeah, dude. And the other thing too is Crawford will be like 2 months removed from being 36. So they're getting this fight done in time because his birthday's in like September, and they're trying to do this at the very end of July. So they're getting away with it, but like the dude's almost 36. And I think everybody just is assuming Crawford's going to be in his top form, but only like the very special fighters can fight like at 36 and be close to their prime, right? We're talking like, I don't know, Golovkin, Mayweather, Pacquiao. I mean, Marquez, like it's Hopkins. It's very hard. It's like you could name, and they have to be like all-time greats. And I do think that Crawford is a special fighter, but I always thought that there was an open question on Crawford at 147. I still think so. I still think that he was losing rounds to Porter at times. I thought that fight looked a little iffy, okay? And there's this legend that kind of came out of the wake. Crawford put down Porter, right? But I don't know. I think that could have been a little bit of an illusion too, man. I like Spence in this fight. He's big. He's strong. He can go. He can grind. He has grit. Crawford gets angry. He likes to answer back, and he likes to kind of act like, hey, he showboats after taking some shots that he shouldn't have, but he's not going to be able to do that against Spence, dude. And I like Spence to win this fight, even though I like Crawford more. And I'll watch some of their more recent fights again, but I feel good about my pick, man. I think Crawford is going to go in as the sentimental favorite, just like Loma went in as the sentimental favorite against Haney.
Hey, you might be onto something there.
Yeah, dude. A lot of people just want Crawford to win because they feel like, he hasn't really, I don't know, got his just due. But I mean, if you look at his career, I mean, what's his best win, Georgie?
I think his at 140 was probably 135 and 140 were probably his two. Those were his best fights. At 147, his best win, of course, is Porter. At 147, yeah. I mean, I know it was a Porter that already fought Spence. And Porter was giving the work to Spence as well. So, I mean, that's to say, that Porter is actually still pretty good, that he could still hang in there. And he was giving the work to Crawford too.
Right. And we all know that fight was stopped prematurely, right? I mean, Porter was just pissed on the ground. He was punching the ground. It's not like he was knocked out cold or anything. It was clean knockdowns, 2 clean knockdowns. But I don't know, man. That fight could have continued. And I'm not saying that like Porter would have won, but I don't think Crawford's this big bruiser. And I'm talking at the very top of the top. Okay, I do think that he's a top pound for pound fighter. I think he's right up there at welterweight. But I think that when you're talking about the very, very best welterweight, a full welterweight, as long as he's not green, I think Shakur might be the guy.
Oh, dude, definitely. I agree 100%. Shakur that's where he's gonna shine at 147. I don't know if Crawford will stick around at the time that Shakur comes up, but I think Shakur will rule from 135 to about 147, then 154. I mean, who knows who's going to be at that division at that time? But I think the Shakur's at 147.
All right, so let's take a look at some thumbnails that have come out. Right, so this is taken over Bud's Instagram. Right, so I think Shakur, Shakur. I think Spence is referring to himself as a shark or something. There's something with the sharks. Okay,
Big fish.
The big fish. Okay, and it looks like here I don't know who did this art, but it was commissioned, right? I'm no stranger to commissioning art myself, right? But it looks like Terrence Crawford has a trident here, spearing the big fish. Nopal, what do you think about this art, man?
I mean, it's all right, I guess. Looks like he probably has that in his living room. It's gonna probably go in the trash if he can't pull off the win. But yeah.
I like his confidence, right, man. It seems to me like it'd be very unsafe to kind of be going and surfing on the water with all this electricity everywhere, right?
I was going to ask you something, Chicano. You
Tell
did
me.
mention a legend that came out of the Porter fight. Is that legend that the guy can end any round with one punch?
Well, yeah, like he went in, kind of like it's like, Crawford said, I'm behind, and they went in there and just put Porter down. I mean, he did, but he kind of pushed the issue. And like I said, I didn't say it before because it wasn't. It's not like he caught Porter off balance, but it was like more of like he outstyled on him, but it wasn't like he put him, like, it's not like he knocked him out, or he was hurt. I didn't think that he was hurt. And Porter was winning some of those early rounds. Like, okay. And, I had Crawford up on my scorecard watching it, but I had some friends, right, watching the fight with me, and they thought Porter was making a very good account of himself. And I don't know. I just think the whole ending was a little bit of an illusion. And now we just think that Crawford can just go in there and just put down people at will. And I don't get me wrong. I think Crawford's a bad dude. Okay. So I don't want anybody to misunderstand me. He's a bad dude and he punches with intentions and he's mean and he'll take a shot to land a shot. That's the other thing too, man. Like his speed's not that great, bro. And I think he's going to have to take some shots to land his. And I think Spence is going to get there first and the punches are going to hurt. That's what I think.
Yeah, it was his dad that stopped that fight, right? I don't think it was the referee that stopped it.
It was the dad.
Yeah, the dad.
And that was an ego thing between the Porters too, if you ask me. That was weird.
He was like, "No, Dad, I want to keep going."
It definitely was. I think the dad did him honestly, for me, I think the dad did him a favor because I think he was ready to come on. I think he would have. I think it would have been worse.
Here's the other thing too, like, open up a can, huh?
He really would have.
I think it would have gone that way, but I would have liked to have seen it, and sometimes when fights are stopped prematurely, you can look at the fight and kind of go like, well, the fight was going that way, right? And that's one of the things that pissed me off about Canelo's early career run. I didn't like him, okay? That Jose Cotto fight, I thought that fight was stopped too early, okay? But it did look like it was going to go that way, okay? The Canelo versus Alfonso Gomez fight, that stoppage pissed me off at the time too, right? But it was probably going to go that way with this, like with the Crawford versus Porter fight. it was definitely going to go Crawford's way. But I mean, would he have gotten knocked out? I don't know. Porter's a tough guy too, man. He's very tough. It's not like he gets knocked out, right? No. So it's hard to say, dude. I would have liked to have seen the war. That's all I'm saying.
I thought it was my brother-in-law actually. He did the parlays on there, and one of his parlays were that he asked me, he's like, "What do you think is going to happen?" He goes, "Should I go with that? Both guys are going to get dropped." And I told him as soon as one guy gets dropped, Crawford does make mistakes, and he will most likely get flashed. And I thought that's what was going to happen in that 10th round. I was like, dude, here it comes. But it didn't happen that way. So you're right.
Dang, they stole that from us then, huh?
Yeah. It's a possibility because, I think Crawford sometimes he kind of, he gets, I guess, I don't want to say careless, but he just opens up more when he knows he got the guy hurt. Because, right, look what happened when he fought Mean Machine. He got dropped unofficially. And then against the Gamboa, again, it opened up. I think he went down in that fight. But he does get hit a lot, and that's why I told him that it wouldn't surprise me if Porter was to catch him in between shot and maybe like put him down on his knee or something.
And the thing is too, I think Spence is just better prepared. He's the full welterweight here, and it is special when a person can just climb through the weight classes like Crawford has done. And I want to give him full credit. Like I'm not trying to discount Crawford. He's one of my favorite fighters. On top of that, dude, I was watching him back in the day when I was in college, man, and it's nice to see him still around, right? I've been watching him since, it's been a long time because my dad was high on Crawford early, right? So I was watching Crawford since before. I know for sure, but like at least a couple fights before the Gamboa fight. So I've been watching him for a long time. I'm a big fan of his, but I just think that, you can only keep knocking on that door. And if you keep messing with the bigger guy, eventually somebody's going to stop him. I mean, some people think that Crawford could beat Jermell Charlo. Like, I think that's nuts, right? But I mean, like I said, but maybe I'm off because, well, he is a bad dude and he is pound for pound. I just think stylistically, right here, and Haplo says that Crawford has more ways to win. Spence's style is easy to predict. Fights one way. All I could say is that I don't know if he fights one way, but I think the way that he would approach a Crawford fight, maybe Crawford could anticipate it, but I still think it's going to be too much ultimately for Crawford to deal with. But that's just my opinion, and I would be happy to be wrong because it would be nice to see Crawford go up again. Like if he could get undisputed at 147. And they go up to face Jermell Charlo for undisputed at 154. Like, I mean, hell, that would put one hell of a stamp on his career. Because right now, like, I feel like it's more reputation than actual accomplishments. I mean, don't get me wrong. He did climb the divisions, but he doesn't have any signature wins. Not really, right? I mean, we kind of agree.
Against signature opponents, right? They've been basically like run-of-the-mill type opponents. This is probably going to be his best competition. Although the other one with Gamboa was pretty good. Gamboa was a hell of a fighter, bro. Freaking Mikey ducked his ass,
right.
I think Gamboa was
kind of a signature win. But here's the thing I don't like about that, bro. Sorry about that, George.
Oh, no,
that, at 135, Crawford was already weighing in on fight night around 155. So the other guy was coming up from 130 or lower weight classes. So, even though it is a signature win, it's not, when you start looking at the details like that, it's not that impressive. So you're kind of right. He does need a better, a bigger name on his resume. That way we could put him on that Canelo list. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like I heard somebody saying you could put Crawford in any era and okay, keep in mind when I'm sitting there, I'm not trying to tear down Crawford. It's only when I'm talking about him as far as an all-time great or all-time greats. I mean, could you put a 130? I would take 135 De La Hoya over Crawford. That's me. I would take 140, prime 147 De La Hoya over Crawford, but that's just me, right? I just think that he's not elite. He's up there, But I mean, talking about fantasy fights, I think he's very good, and he hasn't truly been taken to the deep waters, right? And I think he's gonna get taken to the deep waters here, man. And I think Spence is just going to be too big unless Spence is fucking around, right? I mean, he is a big dude, right? He does party and in between fights, and he's a little fucked up from accidents and stupid shit. Like his girlfriend ran him over with a car and crazy shit like that, But I don't know. But I would be very happy for Crawford if he does win, and he'll get full credit from me, right? I mean, but we do have to factor in the strange things, can Spence still make this weight? Which you can, right? And like I said, I'm done predicting fights based on a weigh and thinking, oh, that guy looks dry. I've learned my lesson. one too many times. I'm never going to do that again.
Yeah, and I think another thing to throw out there too, with not just myself but others say is Spence has been at 147 long, right? Just like Josh Taylor. So they think maybe a couple years back is when he probably should have fought Crawford rather than wait until he's a little bit older. I don't know if he struggles to make 147, but like you said, Chicano, you can't just base a guy off what he looks like, because sometimes he doesn't. The last couple of fights, he didn't look too great at the weigh-in. He looked a little bit dry, but he only knows himself. Has he been at 147 too long? I think those will be, for me, breaking it down, that'll kind of be one of my questions myself. Well, when I think of the fight, has he been at 147 too long? Because I think that's the only division he's ever fought at.
And Crawford looks like he belongs at 147. Like he can end his career there, without even struggling. I mean, he looks kind of like the same size as Floyd Mayweather was.
Right. And he stays in shape. He is in shape. No doubt about it, man. And he's solid. Okay. Like I'm not trying to discount Crawford at all. I still think this is a close fight. A Crawford win wouldn't surprise me at all. This fight is close. That's why the odds makers have it close. That's why he's the favorite. Stylistically, I just prefer Spence in this fight. But, man, Crawford is a bad dude, okay? So Haplo here says that JC Spence is great at one style, more like a rock musician. Crawford is more like jazz, totally fluid and can switch on a dime. But the fight ain't happening anyway. Anyways, I smell another
Crawford is the BB King of boxing.
Okay, I'm gonna have to think on that analogy. I like it, Haplo. I'm gonna have to think on that one a little more. Like jazz rock musician. Okay. All right. What's up, Shoeshine? Okay, so let's take a look at this merch before we head out. Nopal. All right, we got the strap season from Errol Spence. Got the shark knocking on the doors. He's got his hand on the last opponent, right? Bud Crawford is behind that door. He's gonna grab that strap, and then we also got Bud Crawford down below with the trident, spearing a shark on waves in front of the Bellagio. Nopal, which shirt do you like better?
Crawford made that other thing into a shirt.
Yeah, this is both fighters have a website and they're both selling merch, updated merch.
Oh.
These shirts are available for order right now.
I don't know, man. That's crazy because if you wear any of these shirts on the streets, nobody's gonna know who the hell these guys are. So I just say I don't really like either one, but I think that maybe Spence is a little more clever.
All right. Georgie, what do you think, man? You got some shirts too, man. So these guys are trying to plug some shirts. Do you see anything that you like here?
I have to agree with Nopal, man. It is pretty clever with the knocking on the door. Like, I got one more about to get. I think that is very clever. I mean, they're both pretty cool. I would buy both, but I think Spence got the upper hand on this one with the shirts.
Yeah, dude. I don't know if I could walk around with that Crawford shirt. People are like, what the hell? What the hell is that, dude?
They'll be like, hey, man. They'll think that you're funny, huh?
Yeah, dude, just some shirtless guy. Like, I mean, it's weird.
You got the wrong Aquaman shirt, man. That's what I'm
tell you.
Dude. It doesn't look like some Marvel, huh?
Yeah, but it's not, and that's the thing. It looks like a picture of an actual person. People be like, who is that? They might think it's like, because Crawford is not well known. They might think it's like some, I don't know, some other athlete from another sport. I don't know. It's just a bizarre shirt. Haplo here says that Nopal's right about that. I don't want to be walking around answering who is that all day. That's what I'm saying, man. All right, man. Well, I want to thank everybody in the chat who came to kick it with us, man. We really appreciate it. It was a good time. This is the El Chile crew. We are out. Peace.